All right, good morning. Let's call the City of Alpharetta's Design Review Board Workshop meeting to order. Today is Friday, May 17th, 2024. And since this is our workshop session, I'm going to turn it over to Brett, and he's going to go through our applications that we'll hear during our public hearing this morning, starting at 9 o'clock. Brett, take it away, please.
Was that my first clue when you said, are you going to be? Yeah, I am. Why? All right. So this morning we have Flower Power. They're currently in the center. Down there, it's the one down the street with Crust and Subway in it and Da Vinci's Donuts. Things like that. So they want to, I believe they said that the Flower Power brand has changed their logo and colors, and so they want to go up to that. Currently their sign is blue and white, so they want to go to this. And the next one is Play Street Museum. Play Street Museum is in the center where we just saw 2 months ago, I think it was, it painted there with Bagel Boys and Urban Hardware and things like that. So they're down towards the left end, and I'll show you, I went out and got a picture. This is the spot that they're in right here. So they have one of the white backgrounds. So they'll be right here. And they're a navy blue and white. I met yesterday with the sign company, and Richard actually found way back a
That's their sign application.
Yeah. Way back in the day, found their sign package, and so we were able to take, because what's in the sign package isn't manufactured anymore, so we were able to figure out about what it was and get the color. So we have the color that's in the packet, and it is pretty navy, so okay. I think that it'll meet up with their packet pretty nicely.
Is there any concern with it, the white on the white?
I have a little bit of a concern of that. So I mentioned to Richard and Frank, we have our a pre-meeting, and I mentioned to them that when we went to the all reverse or halo or externally illuminated letters, the building background really matters a lot, and not only in color, but in texture. Because if it's not a fairly smooth background, the light created from a reverse channel is going to look really odd. So on a brick like this, it's going to not quite be a nice edging. So to get a better look, they need to put a background to it. So that's what they've done here, is they've put a background and they made it basically the shape of the letters. To me, I think if we're going to do a background, it should be a shape, not a free form. It should be a oval, a rectangle, a square, a circle, whatever fits the best with the sign, not just a free form. Because I think when we do a free form, unless we make it the same size as the letter, to me, and it works in this particular case, but I just dealt with another one that wasn't a kid-oriented design. I think when you follow the letters, it makes it very cartoony to me, kind of thing. I don't know, it might just be personal, but so that's where I was at. It also allows for a lot less holes in the building, though, to have a background there, because when you individually mount a letter, instead of on a raceway, because it's really hard to do a reverse channel lit sign on a raceway. I mean, it's easy to do, but the lights, you know, some spots is right at the raceway and other spots are 5 or 6 inches away from the wall, which isn't going to give you a good look. So they have to put that background there.
Anybody
So-
else have a background on that one?
I'm sorry?
Anybody else have a background? in
They
this?
all have, well, most all of them, the old package for this center had the big backgrounds.
Oh, okay.
So most of the other ones that are out there currently are all just on a raceway because they're face illuminated. So I think we have to get away from what did we do in the past and what's out there now, because in most of the centers now, we're going to be dealing with this. You got face illuminated signs, you've got exterior illuminated signs, and you've got now reverse or halo illuminated signs all in the same center. So with it being a prohibition against face, you know, if you don't change your sign, you don't have to change your illumination. So I think as a board, we just have to remember that they can't do it, and we're just going to have to deal with, they're not all going to look the same. So that's Play Street Museum.
So, but again, the picture was presented in our package,
Yeah, has the brick colored background,
the-
and they're on the white background.
yes.
Well, cream colored.
Yeah.
And I think, is your packet, did you bring one that shows the sign on the white?
Yeah,
Yeah, after we talked
I think it needs to be.
yesterday, we got the sign company to update.
Okay, so when he comes up, he'll be showing the sign on the building,
Okay,
with current paint.
because I think, yeah, the way it would be now, it seems like the sign's gonna disappear until nighttime hits,
Yeah,
but,
and it could. I mean, it is white versus cream, so, you know, we have that debate as well. So anyway,
okay.
this is the old Hudson Park. I don't know if it's going by that name anymore or not. Maybe, maybe not. When Mr. Corkle gets up to do his presentation, he might be able to tell us a little bit more about the name.
Mayfield Canton Corners.
It's at the Mayfield and Canton Street, catty cornered from the Art Center. So a little subdivision. This is the, I think, let me see. Yeah, I think this is the existing,
Weatherford.
it's this one. Thanks, George.
No,
I
it's
heard you,
not.
I got you in the
No.
background.
The dash building.
It's the,
in the
where the.
It's this
yeah.
one? So this is the existing building, existing house. Currently, that's under zoning condition to be refurbed and reused. So that's why you see the other stuff in there.
I have a question.
So yep,
That has, it doesn't pertain to us, but I'm curious, because it calls for brick sidewalks on Canton, but down there's no other brick sidewalks, and I thought.
Well, there
I thought
are-
you wanted to get rid of brick.
there
That's what I
are
thought,
when it's down to the point where it's been redone.
It's a council condition, so it has to
It's a
happen.
council condition, so it has to happen.
But even though it's 2 years, 3 years later. I mean, wasn't this approved?
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
none
Doesn't
on
matter.
the other side of Canton.
But none of
He doesn't want
those
them.
sidewalks have been redone. No new developments have happened
I
over
mean,
there.
it has nothing to do with us.
You guys are going towards town.
Yes, yeah, you got brick in
Yeah.
front of all of the
Yes. you do.
new townhomes
Mhm.
that are down Canton Street. Those are all brick. So it's a thing, you know, it's a you got to start somewhere kind of thing. So
Who maintains
say you don't
those?
want brick
Who's gonna maintain the brick sidewalks?
I'm not sure on these, but
Public Works.
it's the right of way. So
Okay,
That's why Pete hates them.
well, I'm just, yeah,
I believe they put them into city specifications and yada yada yada. James, maybe you can.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
whole
they-
spec and detail for the. whole-
Right, there's a spec and detail that the city has that they have to go by, but yes,
Including the brick material, what it has to be.
correct.
Yeah,
But
and
but
the
we
brick
are
material
moving
and
away from
mix.
that.
And I
So-
put the council action summary at each of y'all's chairs.
Yeah, this was
Yes,
not
you
one
did.
for us, I was just curious.
So we'll just be
So-
doing site and landscape today on this plan.
okay, so, the site plan we're looking at right now, was that in our package?
I put it in there the other day, so it depends when you downloaded.
Okay, because I saw landscaping plans, but I didn't see civil plans.
Yeah.
So first time okay. All right. So we're just doing site plan and landscaping.
Yep.
And then when the individual homes come, they will come before us?
The builder will come with
Okay,
Yeah.
each of the, okay. And then the not the Teasley, the Weatherford home has to be developed by the time they do the number 8 house or something like that.
Yeah, but that's a historic, so it won't come here anyway. That'll go to the historic commission. The HPC.
Has it already gone to them?
No,
Oh,
It-
They had to have a
I think they did
They had
then,
to have
but
a certificate of appropriateness after it was designated.
yeah.
so it has gone before then.
That sounds important.
So it should have already gone to them.
Okay, very good.
Sorry.
Okay. Brett, I have a question dropping back to the Alpharetta Crossing.
That's
Maybe
this
not-
one.
Well, so this center has a tenant criteria for signs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other center that we just looked at, the one prior to this, the Flower Power, that center does not have a master sign package for that center. So,
I actually found that they did say when we reviewed this, we didn't necessarily put a package together when we did the center.
okay,
And I think probably you and I are the only ones here that were there then. But Ellie,
see, that was a.
not when we redid that center. Yeah. You might have been here for the first Flower Power or whatever, but no, when, I think it was just Richard and I, when we actually, was the Dixie? Was that Dixie Diner and all, yeah.
And there was the, what was the clothing, not the clothing store?
Bargain Barn,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay,
Anyway, we talked about colors of signage,
okay.
but we didn't put together a package.
So does this center need to
So
have
technically, I'm gonna have to get them to
Put together
create
a package?
something, yeah.
Okay. All right. So are they going to do that before we talk
No,
about this?
we'll do this one.
Okay.
I think since it's here, we'll do this one. I think, if, like I said, they're already there in blue and white. You know, they're just asking to change to update their stuff, so, you know, it'd just be up to you guys what you,
Is it the same blue?
no, it's not the same.
Like a dark, is it a darker?
And
It's a darker blue.
because you think about that center has Subway, for instance.
Yellow?
It's got
Right.
crust. I'm kind of jumping around here. There's, what
The
else?
Nails,
The
Da
nail, yeah.
Vinci's has a pink thing.
Yes,
There's Borelli's,
right.
gym.
Yeah, the workout facility.
I was just there
right
getting my
beside-
nails done.
So some of the colors have already been identified or are
They look nice.
at the center.
Crust still good? Yeah.
And typically, we've allowed 3 different colors in a center and then black and white. So if you want to call them black and white colors, there's 5 colors, but. Okay.
Let me see if,
And this is a center that, when they first designed it or redesigned it, they didn't allow for signage, or they didn't consider where signage was going to
It's
go.
gonna go, yeah.
yeah.
So they've actually had to cover up some windows and do some things to provide areas.
You know, when we talk about in meetings, you know, figure out, you know, where signage is gonna go and plan for that, that's because of this center. We learned when about the third time they came back, we have to cover this up or we have to cover that up to be able to do signage. We grew from that and said, oh yeah, we need to plan for that in the beginning. So here's the flower power currently. I don't know how much it's going to let me zoom in before it changes dates, but
So we got crust over there on the right, on the left, yeah, okay.
So that power though, look, I mean, it kind of looks a little similar.
it's a look. Yeah, I think it's close, and it might be the same. I'm not really sure.
There's nothing in that whole stretch that is horrible.
No, most of the colors that are in there are black, white, red, and this
And yellow.
blue and the subway yellow.
And even the,
There's a
even the
little bit
yellow
of
is,
pink in there, as the donuts.
I don't think it was pink. I think it was red. I looked back at their thing and it was not colored
Oh.
pink. It's just that red in that acrylic really fades.
Fades.
Yeah.
Okay.
that's funny.
So this is a. Is
Scan
this
a little to the right for us, Brett, if you can, just, okay, so we got,
See, those all look
Jeez.
pink. very
Yeah,
shady
this was
pink.
definitely red.
wow, okay,
These are red.
okay.
This was a sort of a hot pink.
No longer.
That's
This
red.
is one of the newest signs and it's definitely still red. And then you got down there, you got the subway. So the center's, Mr. Corkle, you're correct. It's not horrible.
There's nothing there that just is pure obnoxious, ugly colors. Even, I mean, subway yellow is fine, you know, it doesn't, it's not, it stands out about as much as you really want it to. I mean, you don't want it to fade into the brick.
It's
Are-
subdued.
Or,
Good word. It's 4
it's
points.
just the only one that's gonna be like a big, it looks like everybody else has individual letters, or am I
Well,
making
see,
that up?
now we're getting into the illumination change. So what they're doing with that background, because they have brick, is creating a thing for the light to bounce off of.
Okay,
Because they can't do face illuminated, so they need to do something. Which is sort of my point. I think if you do a shape, yes, it makes during the day, you know, when we've discussed this, Richard and Frank know, we discussed this sort of at length the other day, you know, it during the day is gonna make the sign look a little bit bigger, just because it's the square footage isn't gonna grow, but it's gonna make it look a little bit bigger because you've got a solid background to it.
And the background doesn't count as part of their,
Background doesn't count as part of their size. However, from a staff and a permitting thing, I couldn't let it be overly sized because its only need is to have something to reflect off of. So it really doesn't need to be more than a couple of inches, 4 inches, probably 6 at the
Round.
most. Yeah.
so they're gonna put in a blue and an orange.
They want to do the blue and orange. Yep. Let me go back to their,
It really, yeah.
and they're actually swapping it. Power was blue before.
It's a simpler sign.
I mean, I really like that one,
Yeah, I like that too.
but it's just my opinion. I think it looks very nice on there.
Can you scoot down just one more time? The rest-
Which what?
Just go, look at this other. the
Scan
rest
down.
of
Oh, the other ones?
Yeah, scan it on the center.
Towards
just one more
Subway.
time. I just wanna look again. Okay, thank you.
I should have brought my mouse. This,
Should've brought us some Da Vinci
this little
donuts.
thing makes it really hard to.
Go get your donuts and then go get your pizza for lunch.
Okay, that's that.
Get your nails done and then go to the gym
Let's-
work it all out.
Okay. Anything else for this morning? All right. Workshop session's hereby adjourned. We'll get your coffee cups stood. We'll be back here at 9 o'clock. We'll get started with our public hearing. My microphone wasn't on. All right. All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the City of Alpharetta's Design Review Board public hearing. Today is Friday, May 17th, 2024. So welcome, good morning. Glad everyone is here this morning. Just a gentle reminder for your electronic devices, if you'll either silence them or turn them off, please. Appreciate that. All right, call to order, done that. All right. Everybody's here, present. Thanks for being here this morning. It should be a fairly short meeting. We have 3 applications this morning, so go through those. All right. If everybody will stand, face the flag, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Next up, any items from staff this morning? Anything from staff? Looking over at Ellie, James, and Brett this morning. Any birthdays?
I don't think
Any
so.
birthdays, anniversaries?
Today is Kathy Cook's birthday.
Oh, there we go.
It is
Okay.
Miss Cook's birthday, yes.
All right.
And the arborist, David Shostak, it's his as well.
Oh, and David's too? Wow.
Yeah, but
Cool.
Kathy's much older than David.
Yes.
We put that on record.
Okay. Very good. All right. We'll wish them a happy birthday sometime today. So send them a text message. Okay. Any items from board members this morning?
I have something. I sent Brent an email to pass along to Will Upperly that heads up Will's Park. And I don't know if y'all been there lately, but they did a reforested stream buffer over by the basketball courts, and it's beautiful. And y'all should go check it out. So, I mean,
So
it's awesome. I mean,
I'll
Will's
clarify
Park
that
is
a
like
little-
getting.
Yeah, I'll clarify that a little bit. Will doesn't head up Will's Park. Will is a landscape designer, arborist that works at Public Works. He's the,
Okay.
I believe he's actually the forestry man,
He's our right-of-way manager.
so
It
he,
is
but
awesome.
he does great designs.
Yeah, and y'all should go check it out. It's so nice. I mean, Wells Park in general is just looking awesome. So
Yeah, it turned out really well. In fact, David Shostak is got some professional photos of it and is using it in some here's how to do it kind of things.
Very good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it turned
So-
out really well.
y'all want to go for a walk, go there because it's beautiful.
Is that part of the Wacky World kind of?
No,
redo,
Wacky.
or-
This is where we call it the yellow playground by the basketball courts, and there's a stream, and I mean he's got milkweed in there and all kinds of like all this native stuff that's really awesome.
All right, very
The
good.
Wacky World's about to be redone.
Yes.
And then, you know, the equestrian's got 3 of the 5, I think, are completed rings, the arenas. So it's just so beautiful there.
Yeah,
I
Will's
walk
Park
there
is
every-
really-
Parks have been doing a good job.
Yeah.
This Webb Bridge, they just got a new dog park there.
Yeah, yes, I went to it this week. It was awesome.
We just opened up Waters Road
Mid-Broadwell?
Park yesterday.
Mid-Broadwell is
Webb
open.
Zone at Webb Bridge will be opening up here soon, and June 1st we'll open up the new phase of Alpha Loop. So May and June have turned into ribbon cutting and groundbreaking months for park projects.
Very
So
good.
well done, Parks and Rec.
So it's not named after him, Will's Park.
Oh my God.
Not named after Will Everly.
To Morgan Rogers and his crew and the folks that preceded
Yes.
him as well for all the planning.
And Will and the
guidance.
Public Works,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good.
And Mid-Broadwell has opened,
Okay, very good.
so that's awesome.
Thank you, Holly, for that.
Sure.
All right, anything else from any board members here? Nothing? Okay. All right, next order of business is to review and approve our meeting minutes from our April meeting. Our April 19th, fairly short meeting. I assume everybody has looked at those meeting minutes. And can I have a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the minutes from our prior meeting.
Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Owens, a second from Mr. Owen, and this is to approve the Design Review Board meeting minutes of April 19th, 2024. Any questions or comments about the motion on the floor? There being none, I'll call for a vote. So all in favor of approving the April 19th, 2024 Design Review Board meeting minutes, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All opposed? No opposition. Meeting minutes are approved 7-0. Okay.
South Main's green chairs are very nice looking.
Okay, thank you for that, Holly. All right. Our first applicant this morning is Flower Power Studios. Are you here? Come on down, please. Come on up. If you will make sure you speak into the microphone, introduce yourself this morning, and then give us an overview of what we have in our packet today.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Fernando Rosario. I'm the co-owner of Flower Power Studios Alpharetta, and also Flower Power Studios East Cobb. I'm not a construction professional, so forgive me if we talk about raceways and drilling and back. I don't know anything about that. I know about our business, but what I was hoping to do today is kind of give you a little bit of background on the business, why we're here, why we chose Alpharetta, and then be able to answer any of your questions for our sign. I do have my computer here, and I have HDMI capability.
Right there. Plug that in.
Sure.
Good to go.
Actually, this one's not fitting. I have another computer that has.
That's all right. Do we have a dongle for C? Yes, we do.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much.
There you go.
Great. Thank you very much for your help with that. We've been in the Alpharetta area since 2021. My wife and I, we owned the business coming out of COVID. Wanted to have a different career path, especially for my wife, something more related to the community and to children. What we do is try to bridge the gap between kids that are really motivated by sports or kids that are really motivated by schoolwork. There has to be something in the middle for the predominance of children, especially in our community, that is not related to one of those. And so we try to build their confidence by introducing them to cooking, making them feel safe in the kitchen. We only cook things that can be produced at home. We have all residential grade appliances and kitchenware, and it's a fun, safe environment for them. It's been really great, so much so that we opened up a second location in East Cobb at the corner of Johnson Ferry and Roswell Road, and that's been going really well since January earlier this year. In addition to all the changes, in addition to us growing Flower Power in Atlanta, the corporation has undergone some leadership changes too. They're based out of Raleigh, North Carolina. So new branding, new recipes, new lesson plans, new color scheme, new logo. And that's what's going on here is with the corporate entity changing, the ownership changing, they've trickled down some new branding standards that all of the units across the 20 or some odd franchisees across the United States need to adhere to by June of this year. And so this is the new logo, and what you can see are their brand standards with kind of this halo cloud, outline around the new colors, around the new words. We've actually gotten rid of the kids cooking studio portion because we'll always be focused on children, but we do want to grow into families and adults. We do offer adult classes and corporate events too. And so all of this is in line with that new marketing corporation strategy. This is another version of that brand standard. So as Mr. Schroeder showed you, this is a current sign. This is from 2021, right when the sign was installed, right before we opened. And you can see it's predominantly white with the blue on the power, and it also has that children's face in the middle, and that is, I think, some type of beige skin color with a red mouth, and then a black outline. These are front lit, meaning we have two lights on top of that awning, cascading light onto the letters. These are actually painted PVC. And the new sign, and this is actually East Cobb, so you can see how we've taken away the white outline. That was part of the building standards that we had to accommodate, but we still kept the white around the cooking studios part, and we've taken out the word kids. So this is our proposal that you saw earlier. A little bit of that white around there so that it can stand out against the brick, whereas in Marietta, you have a plain, basically beige backing, so it's really easy to see from the street. And that's self-illuminated, so it's really easy to see at night. This will be front illuminated, and so we have that white around there. And like we talked about earlier, it's a very similar shade, basically the same shade of blue, and then we're adding in the orange and taking away the color of the child's face. So for me, it's actually a simpler design. The letters are bigger, it's easier to see, it's more uniform, and for me, it falls in line with, you know, the other buildings that we have, or the other signs that we have on the building, but then also with the new city ordinances, which I think is 4 years old, in terms of, you know, no self-illuminated signs, making sure it's halo lit or it's front lit, certain percentage of the facade showing there, and only 2 predominant colors showing. So that's all I had to say. I'm open to any questions or any comments you all would have.
Yes, do you have any actual color samples with you?
I do, right here.
Why don't you pass those around to us, please? Maybe start with one end or the other and take a look at them.
So while we're passing those around, the concern we talked about earlier about, you know, having the brick on the background and the way the light plays off of it, that was mainly a concern when it's halo lit.
Yes.
Sign right. This is front lit, not halo lit.
Correct.
So you almost you don't have the same background concern.
Yeah, and
when
I
it's
didn't,
front lit.
I didn't remember that this one is a external.
Yeah, me neither. That's what I was just picking up on. So in this case, I'm not sure you need the background, almost like the example that they showed, just throwing that out there,
Right.
right?
So I'm looking at the profile of the sign there in the bottom right of this drawing. It's letters that are mounted then on a aluminum box, like a box or a flat box, but it's, okay. So it'll be front lit, face lit, same way you're lighting your sign.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, but the letters will just have a little bit of depth against that white background a little bit.
Okay. So is the blue color you're proposing the same blue that you have now on your sign?
It's technically different. It's a different RGB color, but it's
Okay.
almost the same.
Okay, and then the orange is not in your current sign?
Correct. The orange is new,
Okay.
removing the colors of the child's face from the previous sign.
Do you mind going back to the one that you put up in East Cobb?
Sure.
please? So is there a reason why you want the background as opposed to just the single letters like this one in East Cobb?
Yeah, 2 reasons for me, and again, I'm not a professional with construction and signage, so for me, it's more in line with our brand standards, right? So all of the units, all 20 units across the United States are supposed to have that. We had to get special permission to remove that with my, corporate entity, so we worked through that. And then for me, I think it does allow the letters to stand out just a little bit more against that brick, especially on cloudy days or at dusk when you don't have as bright of a light shining there.
Yeah, I guess if you don't have that, then you see this raceway behind it. I'm not
I
sure
don't think
that's
there,
more.
is there a raceway? There,
Yeah, this has a raised.
no, I'm saying on,
Oh, no.
No,
his.
on this one.
Oh, yeah,
On
yeah.
this one here.
Well, they wouldn't need a raceway because they're not doing the illumination.
Yeah, but then you get to individually mounted letters with lots of holes in the brick.
Which I think they already have. I mean, they've already done it.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing they have now, because it has a background, it'll cover all that.
Right.
Right.
So these are, it's painted PVC, and I couldn't tell you how many holes there are, but the letters are adjoining. So that way that it's not like
So
individually
not
mounted letters.
individually mounted.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
This is obviously on a raceway, and so we're attaching it probably with 8 different bolts for a top, 4 bottom, and then the letters are on top there, and it helped, it's almost like produces that conduit or that channel for the cables to go through. We would do something where, I don't know, we'd have to talk to the designers. They've provided me a couple other ideas.
You know, I think I'd rather see this than see a raceway,
I would too.
personally.
I like the background on it simply because it differentiates itself from the 2 colors, the orange and the brick color. You put those 2 right on top of each other, and I think there's more of a tendency for it to
exactly.
clash versus this. at least it makes it stand out a little bit as being a little bit separate. It doesn't have the tendency to look like it'll clash, those two colors will clash against each other.
How far do the lights stand off the building?
Great question. So these two windows, shuttered windows on the outside, there is a spotlight with a two halogen bulbs shining basically at 45-degree angles right onto the center.
Oh, okay, so the cantilevered lights.
Gooseneck.
Yeah,
goosenecks?
the spotlights are mounted on top. You can barely see them if you're standing, in the parking lot, but they do shine up.
They shine up, okay, because the question I had
Switch to
was,
my computer.
with only the goosenecks, and with the relief of the letters, would it look weird at night, with the shadows? But it sounds like if there's those spotlights, it'll be fine.
Are those goosenecks gone, I guess?
So
Oh,
here's the current picture.
oh, so it might cast shadows in the opposite direction.
So there is a little bit of a shadow up above the letters, and that's why we reduced the thickness of the letters against that black background.
Got it.
And then here, you'll see only a half-inch painted PVC on top of that aluminum
So
tray.
you guys have already dealt with that, so you understand.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So we're trying to reduce the amount of shadow.
Okay. Thanks.
The other thing is, I know this is the corporate standard. These are very bright colors, and we have typically had issues with very bright colors like this. Take Morgan & Morgan as an example, right? They had bright yellow, and we denied that, right? And this, you already have the blue. This introduces one more color in the center than is there now.
You got a little bit of that on the donut shop next door.
They have it's supposed to be
red,
red.
but it's faded.
Now it's pink.
It's a faded.
Yeah.
I could have sworn to Vinci.
I'm okay with this. I'm a little concerned about the brightness of the colors. I know we hear concerns regularly from folks about bright colors on signs, so.
Yep.
Are there alternatives to the colors that, it's not that it's orange and blue, it's that it's bright orange and bright blue.
Sure, sure. Yeah, we actually have a sample of, I guess, what you would call more muted shades. It's a little bit of a darker blue and a little bit of a paler orange, so that it's not as bright. For me, it would be really important to keep the consistency across the brand and not go black and white or brown and white, so that people understand that the same product that they would buy in East Cobb or even in Raleigh, North Carolina, or Dallas, Texas, could be the same, because that's the goal of the brand, is to kind of like, hey, this is a national thing, that you can get the same type of service and product wherever you go in the United States. But, yeah, we could, and I actually have them in my bag, and I can show those around if you like.
Yeah, could we see those, please?
So if you follow our guidelines, as far as signage goes, typically a center is allowed to have three colors plus black and white. So looking at the center now, they've got yellow as part of the subway, they've got red, they have the flower power blue. So those are your three colors.
Takes just so they can compare.
So suddenly we're introducing another color, orange, which then goes against our guidelines.
I think also in the guidelines, doesn't it talk about something about the main text or main thing should be one color?
I've got the list here. Yeah. All right, let's pull that up just to reference that, so we have that.
No, their design
I
guidelines.
know, I like this one better. What do you think? Still would prefer more muted, but it's better. The blue doesn't look much different. The orange looks different.
Yeah, that blue is very,
It's a little deeper, yeah.
okay, while you're pulling that up, I'm passing some.
On this thing, it says gooseneck lighting existing.
That's-
Are they
that's
just taking that from the picture,
they're
maybe?
looking at now.
I think they were just assuming that, because there's not any gooseneck lighting.
Okay.
I think that was a sign company that,
Probably just the old one.
Okay, I got it. We worked with the same company for our first sign back in 2020. And the idea was we would install gooseneck lighting, but it was
It's
a little,
probably just left
it was a little bit costly. Yeah, so they just kind of
Yeah, they probably
replaced the old
forgot
one
to
with the
take it
new
off.
one. Previously was a place called Tinderbox, which was a cigar shop, and they had the traditional, letters on Raceway, halo bulbs inside.
Sorry. It's all right, take your time. I knew it's near the top. I thought it was.
Master sign.
All right, here we go. Why don't you just start kind of reading?
Okay, so for signs in general, individual signs should not use more than 3 colors plus a background color. Signage may also utilize white or black as a predominant color. Signs should not utilize more than 1 color for the primary message copy, like you were saying, unless a second color is used to create a shadowing or outlining effect. For panel signs, the background color shall mean the panel itself. For channel letters, the background color shall mean the returns. If a portion of the building behind a wall sign is painted a different color than the remainder of the wall, then such portion of the wall shall be counted as background color. Trim colors shall be counted as background colors. That's it.
Probably good then, okay.
So it's, go ahead.
So it sounds like then
so
flower
that's,
tower,
that's in your guidelines.
yes. Should be the same color.
And the cooking studios can be a secondary color. Because it says, signage should not utilize more than 1 color for the primary message copy.
Our guidelines have changed, so. Don't.
Yeah, we're kind of getting into trying to figure out, when did the guidelines change? And
27.
Yeah, which brings up a good point that we've not been through that exercise
Right.
of getting some groups together, so we probably need to talk about that maybe next month or so in our workshop and going through our guides.
Me and Roger did? Me and
Yes.
Roger and the sign guy.
Yes, you did. you
Yeah,
did have a
years ago,
subcommittee
yeah.
To do
Yeah.
that.
Because you start looking at these centers and you see the signs and some of them don't comply with the guidelines and you go, well, did that sign go up versus the current guidelines?
Well, and the guidelines are guides as well. It's not, they're not code,
They're
so
not
they're
code,
not,
right.
you're not required to follow that. It's just good practice to give folks that aren't,
Yeah,
but yeah, we
Probably
need to
need
update
revisit
those.
that.
yeah.
For sure.
Well, again, this center was before 2017,
Yeah.
and that was when we had some revisions to the guidelines.
I mean, for example, in this center, there's a number of signs that have 2 colors for the primary.
Yes,
Subway.
Right.
I
So
actually like the 2 colors.
in this center, it wouldn't stand out because it wouldn't be unique in this center. A number
Right.
of-
That's kind of what I was thinking also, like if this was a new building, I would say, we should really dive in and meet the letter of the law, but there's so much going on in this center that's non-conforming to what this is. Almost, it's like, it'll never be right.
That's a nice way to say it.
Right. So
Is it safe to say that everybody, it's just the orange color that people, is it safe to say it's the orange color that's throwing everyone off?
I think so, yes.
Like if it was,
Well, let's see.
for instance, red, because we already have red.
So, I mean, I'm kind of curious that, as far as I sort of asked the board here, what did others think about the alternative colors? I think I like the more muted color, but they're not a big difference though.
Jennifer's face.
I mean, the blue is about the same.
Yeah, the blue's the same to me.
The blue's so close, it's hard to tell the difference. The yellow is a
Orange.
subtle, the orange, sorry.
And over time, that one on and his right hand or left hand, that one will eventually look like the other.
It's almost like you have a Syracuse orange and a Tennessee orange.
So-
For the Syracuse.
Gator.
yeah, and so
Gator orange.
One thing that you will find is when we're not illuminating behind these letters, like in the red and the Da Vinci and stuff like that, you're not going to get as much fade over time in that. You'll still get some, but not nearly as much. Now, if you go to a completely metal letter that's painted, it's going to be,
From the light inside.
yeah, that'll be, yeah, years and years and years before that fades enough to really be noticeable. It's that pushing that light through all night long, you know, that's where it really fades those colors out.
All right, I'm gonna take a stab at this and just in the sense of moving along.
Okay, before you do,
Oh, questions?
no, is there any public comment about this application? Any public comment? Okay, no public comment, all right.
All right. I will make a motion regarding DRB 240018 Flower Power Studios that we approve as submitted today with the original colors Pantone 1655C, Pantone Processed Blue. And a motion.
Second.
Okay, have a motion by Mr. Corkle, second by Mr. Rowan. Any questions, comments, discussions? I think I like,
My comment is that there's not that much of a differentiation of the two colors, and when you look at it from, you know, it's 30 feet, or not 30, but it's 15, 20 feet in the air, and you're standing 20, 30 feet away from it, especially from the right of way. There's just not enough differentiation there to really get that much in the weeds, in my opinion.
It's a fun place, and that color makes it fun.
I like the darker or the brighter orange with the tone of the brick as well. I think if we went lighter, it just gets wishy-washy.
Good point, Jennifer.
Yeah, I mean, truth be told, I'd rather see neither of those colors, right? I'd like to see a dark blue and a dark orange, right? Not neon bright.
truth be told, I like their original sign or their existing sign better than this.
Well, yeah, I would agree with that too.
Okay, any other discussions, comments? There being none, then I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. All opposed? 1, 2, 3. All right, motion passes 4-3.
Thank you very much. Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate your
Thank
time.
you, good luck.
Thank you very
All
much.
right. Okay, our next applicant this morning is Play Street Museum. Good morning, welcome.
Good morning, how are you?
Good, how are you doing? If you'll make sure you speak into the microphone, introduce yourself this morning, and give us an overview of what we have in our packet today, please.
So I am Mark Dolan. Me and my wife are opening the first Play Street Museum in Georgia. We're a franchise business, and we are focused on young children. Is that gonna pop
It'll
up?
come up.
It is.
So we've lived in the Alpharetta area now for 11 years. Really made this place our home. My wife, we have 2 young kids. She's looking for a career change, pretty similar to Flower Power. She's going to run this business, and then hopefully we'll continue to open more in the area. So just to give you a little snapshot on what Play Street is, we're a small format children's museum. You can see the inside. This is a walkthrough of one in Texas that we're going to be very similar to. Our theme is town center, so the idea is children 1 to 6 come and play with their parents. It's interactive play. We're going to have a mock doctor's office, pet store, cafe, firehouse, some arts and crafts stuff for kids. So getting to the meat and potatoes of our application. So we submitted this back before the building was painted. I know that was in process still. So I wanted to share a few photos. I think Brett popped a few up earlier, but this is what it looks like right now. We're taking half of the old Loco space. Not sure if you guys are familiar with Locos. I do show you.
How far does that extend in that photograph? How much of the space are you taking?
So we are taking
So from-
right from this column line to the
Okay,
dentist's
very good.
office. I think Locos was about 6,000 square feet. We're like 2,800, so we're taking just about half. All right, so this light, I just wanted to show this because this lighting is very bright. The day I took this photo, it was really weird lighting, but you'll see in a second why I'm showing you this. So this was our original application. I spoke to Brett this week about a couple comments or potential concerns. One being that we don't show the current building look because it was painted since we submitted our application. And then two, Brett expressed that there may be some concern over the amount of white background on our backboard versus the white building. So spoke with our sign company yesterday. I had them make some revisions. Just keep in mind, this is that photo that had the weird lighting. So the actual white is brighter than this, which makes this white really stick out, but that's not really what it'll look like. So I apologize for that. But we shared those comments and discussions with Brett, with our sign company, and they gave this as a potential change. They made the blue bigger to make the white area less.
So these are halo illuminated letters,
Yes. So our sign is intended to be halo illuminated.
Do you have a sample of the blue that you're?
Yeah. So the color also, our sign company, I think he came and met with
yep.
you. I'll just hand this around. So this is the blue that we're proposing.
Okay.
I think the current blue that's specified in the master center is like no longer domestically available. So I think our sign guy brought this blue, and I think you guys kind of matched.
Yeah, I met with him yesterday, and we found what was in the package, a sample of it, and it's close.
The dental place is still there, right?
I'm
The
sorry?
dentist, the Coast Dental?
Coastal
Yeah.
Dental is, yeah.
So it's sort of similar to the dental.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Coastal Dental right
Yeah.
there.
The letters, so they'll stand out in the white background.
Correct, yeah.
And then the white part's lit, that's their halo effect.
Yeah, that's where the light will go to the back and then bounce off of that white to come to the front.
That's the image there I'm
Yeah.
looking at on my screen.
This is probably not the best. Most of the play streets around the country have face illuminated. They're not halo, so it's probably not the best example, but this is kind of the idea where you'll have that white set back with the blue out.
Yeah, I think making the letters bigger like you did, I think it's going to really help here because I think with the white background sort of blending into the white brick, the letters would look very thin, I think. This is going to make the proportions look better.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I agree with you.
What color are the returns for both the letters themselves and the background? The white.
So the returns on this edge would be blue to define it, and then the letter itself would be blue as well.
So the white background has also got a blue outline around it.
Correct, just like this here.
And it's the same blue. The outline.
Correct, yeah, same blue. Yep.
And is the face of the letter or the blue, is that a painted or a baked on finish? Do you know? The last one we just saw, Flower Power, was a painted.
I believe it was.
I think I think it's probably going to be powder coated. So I
Powder,
think it's
yeah.
going to be, would
Okay.
be considered a baked on. I think that's what most of that, because it'll be a full metal letter.
Yeah.
And I think they spray that powder on and bake it.
Okay.
Yeah, they just called it pre-painted, but I didn't really
Yeah.
get into like coating type. But if there's a preference on the coating type, I mean, I don't have any issue incorporating that.
I think it's one of those that Ms. Palmer kind of brought up that, when we talked about that, it's, you're just not going to see that fade over time in these kind of situations. This is the perfect situation to say that for, I would say the foreseeable future, that blue is going to stay that blue.
Yeah, it's going to last a lot longer.
Yeah.
So the background of the sign looks like it's 2 inches deep. Then there's a gap, an inch gap, and then the letters are 5 inches deep.
So what they did there is, there's two ways to do that. You could make that background just a flat ACM panel, and then you would be able to get to the side and you'd be able to see behind it. So what they did is they said, we don't really want to be able to catch that view, so we're gonna turn that edge so that it goes back flush. There's another view that if you did that flat, you can also illuminate behind that. If you just do a flat ACM, you could illuminate behind that, so you get kind of a glow around the whole thing, and then a glow at the thing. That's one of our one that's in the newest downtown sign packages, that you have both glows. You got the external basically, and then you've got the one for the letters. So you can do it either way. So they stand that off enough to get all those connections back there, but then they just turn that corner. I would say as long as we keep those, in that situation, keep that into the 2 inches or less, I think it's gonna look okay. If we get into somebody that wants to do a 4 or a 5 inch back there, I think now you're talking, that's a completely different look.
Okay, so then the background, the width of the background, if you want to call it not the raceway, I'm trying to come up with that name of that.
I mean, theoretically, it really is a raceway. It's just what the letters are mounting themselves to, so it is sort of a raceway.
Background panel.
The background panel, yes. So then the size of the letter is not much. The background panel and then the size of the letter is almost the same size as the background panel, but there should be only maybe an inch.
Just a little bit, it's
Silhouette.
just enough to allow the glow to come around the letters. And I think when they expanded it from the original, I think it's even better.
Well, I'm just looking at this section that we're looking at the bottom right.
Yeah.
It looks bigger than that. It looks.
Yeah, I don't
the
think the-
silhouette or the whatever.
Well, part of that though is, you got the L and the T that go way up there,
I guess so. We just
so
need to
from
make
from the side, it's the whole thing.
You'll see the tallest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the section view is the most accurate representation.
Yeah, it's,
You might even be able to see it from the side. It's set back, the roof
Yeah.
goes overhead, and then there's another roof. You're not gonna see it from the side.
I don't think you'll really catch much of it.
Yeah, see it from underneath.
Well, since they returned it,
But
it doesn't
that's
matter.
right.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't see, you gotta see behind
Yeah.
it. You
That's
can-
okay.
so the
And they
se-
returned it in blue, so when you look up there, it's gonna, yeah.
It looks good.
so the section is showing the depth of the letter as 5 inches deep. That seems really, for a 12-inch letter, that's like almost half the height of the letter. The depth of that seems a lot.
5's pretty standard for a letter depth.
Even backlit?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And it's because they need distance to get that LED away from the background so that the glow is not spotted. So they need to, so if you think about it, if the back of the letter is here, they'll put the LEDs up here so that they can,
Yeah.
So it could radiate out or whatever.
Yeah, so it'll radiate out more evenly than it would, if you put the LEDs back closer, the glow of it's going to be more spotted.
Yeah.
We ready?
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll make it. Go ahead.
All right, looks like we're ready to have a motion here. Is there any public comment about this application? Any public comment this morning? All right, no public comment. All right, does somebody want to?
So I'll craft a motion on DRB 240019 Play Street Museum that we approve as submitted today. And a motion.
A second.
Okay, motion
Is,
by
is that submitted?
Submitted, presented. Let me put it,
Okay.
presented today.
today.
Thank you, our clarification on that, all right. All right, we had a second. Mr. Owens, do you second the clarification from submitted to be presented?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So we have a motion by Mr. Corkle, second by Mr. Owens. All right, any comment, discussion from board members, anything else? I think it's pretty straightforward, all right. There being no further discussion, all in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All opposed, no opposition, motion passes 7-0.
Thanks.
All right,
Appreciate it.
thank you for your time this morning.
Do we have to submit anything revised? Because
Have them send me that new thing.
I sent it to
Yeah.
you late last night.
Did you?
But-
Okay, I'll drop it over into that and get your permit.
Brett,
Okay,
you want
thank you.
to sample?
No, he can have that back.
Okay. All right, when do you expect to open up?
We're hoping July. We were hoping April. So everything takes longer than you think,
Okay,
right?
it does, very good, okay.
We finally got our building permit, and we're moving now.
Okay, well, good, very good.
Thanks. Appreciate
All
it.
right,
guys.
thank you. Okay, we had another application on our agenda, but that's been withdrawn. So our next applicant is Canton Mayfield Development. You're here, come on down. Or come on up, please. 3940. Okay. Mr. Owens, if you will introduce yourself, after you get hooked up, introduce yourself. Speak into the microphone. And then give us an overview of what we have in our packet today, please. I think Mr. Corkle has recused himself from this application.
Yes. And let's see. James, do I need to do anything? Is it?
Good.
Okay. I didn't know if I need to change. There, okay. Well, let's see. Get it to behave. That's better. Oh. Good morning.
Good morning.
Chairman, esteemed members of the Design Review Board. My name is Chris Owens, and I am here today as the civil engineer and master of ceremonies, the presenter, if you will, coordinator for Mayfield Canton Corners, the DRB presentation. This is for site plan approval today in front of you all. I have with me George Jackson, and I have Chris Davis. They are the developer and builder respectively for this project. And then, as you can tell, Mr. Corkle recused himself. He is the landscape architect for the project. So, give you an overview of the project today. If this will behave. My apologies. See if we can do it this way. There. So the property is located in the southeast corner of Canton Street and Mayfield Road, diagonal from the Alpharetta Arts Center and immediately behind the CVS that exists today. There is a home on the property, and that is something that we'll talk about briefly today. That home will remain. This property was zoned a few years ago by mayor and council. And this is a copy of that zoning site plan that's attached to the zoning conditions. It was zoned for the existing home to remain in place and for 16 additional homes to be built on the property. There is a stream that cuts through the property diagonally through this area you can see here. that we are preserving. And then the home, I said, was supposed to be renovated into either a residence or a business. The zoning allows either or for that. And we do have a bit of work south of the property to do. The property ownership stops here. However, one of the zoning conditions was for the applicant to improve Canton Street South in front of this strip that the city of Alpharetta owns in order to connect the streetscape from in front of this project down to what the city and other developers have already built. So you'll see that as part of this application as well, is the continuation of that brick sidewalk, the tree islands, and parallel parking. This is a copy of a rendered version of the site plan from the zoning package. And just to remind everyone, this applicant's not seeking to change any of the zoning conditions or the plans that were developed for that zoning, is why we're referring to that today. You can see that 13 of the lots will be west of the creek, and that includes the existing home that will be renovated. And then the other 4 lots will be off of the private alley that splits between us and CVS, that this developer now owns and controls that alley, so there'll be private drives off of that. These are the zoning conditions. And you've got a sketchy network, James is telling me. So, and I have highlighted the components, the conditions of zoning that I believe would be of interest to the design review board. And you know, the single-family lots are allowed to include the alley in the lot size. I thought that might be of interest to you, being a site plan approval today. The historic home, the Weatherford House, is to be used as an office or a residence. I mentioned that already. The condition being that a garage or driveway with parking be added to the rear, which we're showing that. The builder, Chris Davis, does have an architect who's starting to be engaged now. That's why we're separating site and buildings. That'll come back to you as a separate package, but just to let you know that that is top of mind and is being addressed as we speak. The architecture and materials, which will come back to you, are subject to your approval. The lots are required to have a front yard that with a decorative low wall, the brick or stone or hedge with columns. And Mr. Corco will address that as part of the landscape package this morning. Then the Canton Street streetscape is spelled out with specific planter width, street trees, and brick sidewalks, decorative pedestrian lights, which we are happy to conform to. Mayfield Road, again, it spells out the Mayfield Road frontage that we have to comply with. And then landscape strips as well that are baked into the site plan and the zoning site plan. And then again, a landscape strip that addresses that, that private alley that I mentioned between us and CVS that we are also complying with. And again, you've seen this condition quite frequently. I'm sure that fences and walls visible from the public right-of-way are to be decorative and subject to your approval as well. So this looks familiar. This is the current site plan, which is based on the zoning plan that was approved. Still shows the 17 homes and shows, you can see in this plan, the stream buffer is a little bit easier to spot the white strip diagonally through with the blue line there in the center. And of note, I'll point out one of the zoning conditions as well on this up at the corner of Mayfield and Canton. This developer is required to dedicate the corner to the city for a future potential for roundabout construction at that intersection. That was a Tier 3 project out of the T-Splost, I think maybe the first T-Splost around the Transportation Special Option Sales Tax. And we did speak with Public Works. It's still on the city's list, but at this point it is not funded. And they don't anticipate the T-Splost revenues to come in enough to cover it. But if the council were to decide to put it in their capital budget at some point in the future, they wouldn't be prevented from implementing it because the right-of-way here would be reserved for future. Again, a view down the street showing we're complying with the streetscape requirement. And here we have the landscape plan, and I'm going to allow Pat Corkle to take over, and I'm going to see if I can get a bigger view of this on your screen while he's doing that.
Chris, while you're doing that, so
Yes.
I guess the alleyway between this property and CVS, you have to get, I think, some sort of an agreement in place to use that. Has that happened yet?
Well, they've done one better than that, Mr. Kramer. They actually went and bought the alley.
Oh, they bought it?
Yes, sir.
So now they own, okay.
Yes. So they're allowing CVS to use it, but this developer now owns it. So yes, absent that, during the discussions, they ended up purchasing it rather than acquiring an easement.
Because that alleyway also goes to the, what's the gas station there, kind of feeds into the, well,
It's a business park. It goes
yeah,
to
there's
the-
a business park and you can get to the gas station there as well,
Oops,
behind the
there we go.
You know, the back of the CVS, or
the
back,
Chevron,
Yeah.
the back of the Chevron, for instance. Go back to that, okay.
Yeah, I was trying to zoom in on it, and I'm not doing a very good
That's
job.
That's good, so, all right, so they've purchased that alleyway, what we're calling the alleyway, all the way to,
All the way to the back of this development.
got it, okay.
So yes, and you're correct. I had forgotten about that access from Chevron, but you can access the Chevron as well.
Oh, I never knew that.
I've done it a few times.
You have, yeah.
Yes. Okay, very good. And then scroll over to go a little bit west, if you will. How far
Oops.
down?
here, maybe, Chris, maybe this might be a better one. James, can you go to my,
I was just going to see how far down the brick sidewalk continues to tie into.
Sure.
Chris, do you want to use this mouse
Oh, there
and
we
point
go.
on here where things are? This might be a little bit easier of a view for them.
Oh, you have that?
Yeah.
Actually, I have a mouse in my bag. Just trying to avoid that. Turned out not to be so helpful. So the existing brick sidewalk stops at the townhomes just above Lily Garden Place. And Chris, is that your build at Lily Garden Place?
Yeah.
So I knew that Chris had work there nearby, so he stopped building here, and this tree line is the city-owned strip.
Okay.
So the frontage improvements will go from the southern property line of this project down and tie into the existing brick sidewalk. It will complete that side of the streetscape.
Okay.
That was the intent at the initial talks with the city when the zoning got approved, when it was called Hudson Park. And again, like I said, they're not seeking to change any of those conditions.
All right, very good. Thanks, that helps.
Yes, sir. But we're going to try again.
And Chris, before you leave, though, maybe a couple more site plan civil questions for you too. Stormwater detention.
Sure.
For instance, if you can
See what we can do here. So the intent of and this is baked into the zoning as well. Pardon me. So this is the grading and stormwater plan, Mr. Kramer. And as you can see, under the alley between the houses is an underground stormwater system. And that was, again, excuse me, during that zoning, it got very specific. We actually had to design that prior to the zoning hearing. Normally, we would show a concept plan at that stage, and the questions back and forth with staff became so detailed that we actually modeled it to show them that it would work, and hence it became one of the conditions of zoning.
Okay.
So, And that system is being designed such that it will over-detain for these homes so that these 4 homes over here don't have to connect into it. So it's a balancing equation. And being right on the stream, it actually helps that math as well.
And then eventually that stormwater will find its way into the creek there, or the stream.
Goes into the stream. There's a culvert under Mayfield that then discharges on the east side of Highway 9. So the flow goes east, flows around and goes and joins down Jane Ellen area, goes into a creek there that joins a creek that leaves the Methodist church, right? Then winds up going east and winds up going behind Avalon.
Oh, wow.
And so if you know where West Side approaches Academy Street, Webbridge Road, behind Avalon, so that creek that it crosses there, at Woodlands at Webbridge Way, that's the creek. So all this drainage, this whole area of downtown ends up over behind Avalon and ultimately into Big Creek.
Okay.
So hey, just a quick question.
Things you
Are there
never
any
wanted to know.
Are there any differences between what you're presenting today and the site plan that was approved in the rezoning?
No, sir.
No.
No, we're
100% consistent.
100% compliant, yes, sir.
Chris, can you point out, are there any retaining walls on this site?
There are, and that's a great question. Not many, but there are some.
Okay.
So there's one as we enter. In order to preserve this existing home, the driveway coming in, the private drive coming in, wanted to be lower than that existing home. And so we actually have added some details that I apologize, and specifications that aren't available on this grading plan that require, so you see this in northeast corner of the existing home? That's a porch that's exterior to the footprint. The footprint actually goes back, jogs in, and goes over. And this whole building structure is not in great shape. But that is a porch that's going to have to be removed and taken and reconfigured, taken off, whatever the Historic Preservation Committee and the architect decide. But what I have called out for on these plans, for these purposes, as part of the evaluation of this home, no matter what we do here, they're going to have to go and evaluate these foundations. I mean, it's got to be done. Is bring it up to code and for common use and practice. So they're going to have to go in, and I'm suggesting, helical pier, like a foundation jack type system to support the footings and foundation of this home, so that when they go and excavate for that retaining wall, they don't undermine and cause problems with the house. So they are going to have to do some structural stability anyway, and it helps build that retaining wall at the same time. So that would be one that would be along the entrance.
So that retaining wall, which side, I'm looking at the grades.
The drive would be low, so someone coming in would see the wall to their right.
All right.
And then as you come in, there will be a retaining wall between lots 11 and 12 that run along the drive here. And then there will be a retaining wall holding up the driveway for lot 8 out of the stream. And likewise, the front yard we've got a retaining wall shown here. Again, the yard here is higher than the stream. So the yard is high and the stream is low. The driveway's high, the stream is low.
And what's the retaining wall made of?
Has not been determined yet, but we would expect either a decorative modular or a cast wall with some sort of decorative treatment.
Okay. I mean, it looks like some of the wall is not really viewed by the public unless you're walking down the middle of the creek, I guess.
That's right. Yeah, the creek bed, again, another condition of not only zoning, but the underlying code, state code and local code. We are allowed to go in there and clear out invasive species, but that has to be done by hand. We can't get machinery in there. So that's a process. It's hand clearing and then some very targeted treatment to keep those things from coming back.
So like poison ivy or?
Poison ivy. I don't think there's kudzu in there, but there is privet, and there's no bamboo, is there? There's some bamboo in other spots of downtown, but there's not here, thank goodness. But yeah, so the kudzu and the bamboo are almost impossible to fully get rid of. But even the privet, you cut the stems, you have to go apply something to the stems or the privet will come back. So you have to kill it at the trunk, basically. But once that's cleared out, there will be some supplemental plantings in there that are native species. But yeah, it's not going to be wide open for the public to see. You'd have to walk down the creek bed to be able to see those walls.
But for instance, if you're pulling in off of Canton Street, you will be able to see some.
We'll be able to see that. And that wall by nature won't be able to be a modular product because the tiebacks would go underneath the home. So that's going to have to be some sort of cast treated wall. Yeah.
It's great that
I'm
you're
speaking
giving,
of structural, but yeah, from the decorative, yeah.
Mr. Owens, it's a great situation that you are yielding to giving people access on either side of that creek to let them pass through there with the walkway you're showing on drawing L1 that Mr. Corker will show later. And it's also, I'm also pleased to see that the way you're developing it with single family, with single residences, as opposed to more townhouses.
So Chris, going back, one of the council conditions was for the Weatherford house to have a garage or driveway for side-by-side parking. So how is that being accomplished, or how does that work? All right, so if I'm, okay.
On the rear.
All right, so that's where it is then, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Right there. And it would access from this, from the back of the alley. And all of these homes are being rear loaded so that they face outward.
Okay.
With the exception of the 4 over here on the alley. We couldn't avoid that.
Got it. So just out of curiosity, how does if heaven forbid there's a fire or an emergency, how does a fire truck get in or out of here?
So I spoke to the fire marshal about that just, that was about 2 weeks ago now, and he asked that we model the fire truck coming in. So the depths of these alley stubs from street to this side alley is less than their maximum length for backing up.
Okay.
And then likewise from here to the end, they could pull up to the end and then back into here and leave. So they're treating these like T turnarounds where they need to. But he did acknowledge that and that's primarily, he said, for EMS calls. He said fire calls, he said if these homes are engulfed with, we're going to enter these from the rear and they're going to be raised from the front, that's a collapse zone. They would fight a fire from Mayfield or Canton. So the fact they can get in there, we had to prove, and they can. But he said primarily they're going to fight from the exterior because they don't want their apparatus and their personnel in an area that might be in the collapse zone.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yeah, fair question. And all of these new developments that are so tight like this, those are all the new things to us that we have to think about that normally in traditional detached or townhomes that you don't.
Right. Well, even like the garbage trucks or trash pickup or recycling or.
Well, and James could speak to this, but was it a few years ago that Republic, they're implementing some smaller trucks for these areas of downtown Alpharetta and other suburban cities that are developing so compactly. 1858 is another example. They're going to service 1858 with one of those smaller vehicles.
Okay, very good. Any other kind of civil site questions for Mr. Owens? No? All right, let's jump over to the landscaping then.
Okay.
So, real quick, so each one of these will have their own trash. There's not like a dumpster. They have their own.
Oh, yeah, it'd be,
trash cans.
this would be like having a trash cart and a recycle cart at a traditional subdivision.
Okay.
Yeah, no, there's no central trash.
Good morning, esteemed DRB members.
Is that to yourself as well?
As mentioned previously, we've been hired to do the exterior portion of the project with the architecture coming along. later. All right, I got to figure out how to, okay, good. So design review board conditions, so we've got architecture, which will come in later. One of the things that what I did want to note, though, is the wall material, the column material that we've got coming up, you'll see is a limestone, it's cut limestone. In some previous preliminary conversations with the architect, there will be a cut limestone portion on some of the architecture, some of the houses. So it will hearken to the building architecture. The typical lot shall have a front yard defined by decorative low wall, brick or stone, hedge with columns, brick or stone, or decorative fence. We've gone with all three. We've put in a column that holds a gate. We have a low fence, and we're going to have a hedge in front of that fence, just to soften that effect. Down the street a little further, where some of the other developments are in, you'll notice that it's the brick sidewalk and then a fence very similar to what we're showing here, but that fence is right up on the sidewalk. We have a little more of a luxury here where we've set it all back, so we have the ability to soften that effect as you're driving down the street and you've got a hedge with the fence. I'll get into that in a second. Landscape strips along Canton Stret, nice spelling, and Mayfield Road shall be planted with shade trees as continuation of what has been planted or designed in the downtown. The street trees along Canton Street are trident maples. We've continued that along Canton Street. We have trident maples that continues that streetscape theme. And fences and walls visible from the public right-of-way, Mr. Kramer, shall be decorative as approved by DRB. So again, anything that's seen from the right-of-way will be that cut limestone look with the cap. Anything not seen will more than likely be modular or what have you for Mr. Owens. Okay, so.
Mr. Corkle?
Yes, sir.
Real quick question, right? When you talk about fences was part of that, right?
Uh-huh.
Along Canton Street, what are, Mayfield, is there a different fence that's going to be there as part of a privacy type?
Mayfield's going to be a little bit different animal because of the frontages and there along Mayfield there are no single solitary walks that come from the street because there's no sidewalk that comes from the street. So it's a different animal because we're not going to have gates with columns and the fences. So that'll be a hedge treatment along that I take that back. I'm talking about the alley. Mayfield and Canton will be identical as far as the treatment, fences and walls.
So will there be a HOA condition or something that privacy fences can't go along Mayfield Road, or?
I can't speak to that, but I'm sure there would be.
You have to come up.
You don't get to stay in the background, Chris. Where's the microphone? Or you can speak into here if you like.
Hey, I'm Chris Davis. Nice to meet you guys. I'm a developer and builder. To answer your question, the front those are front courtyards on Mayfield and Canton. So the front doors will be facing Mayfield, which the gate and the columns are the same. So there won't be backyards facing Mayfield. So no privacy fences of any sort.
Is that going to be conditioned in your HOA documents, or?
Oh, yeah. We'll put together HOA covenants that can speak to that amongst all the other stuff.
Or I guess I'm just trying to think of where I had a different situation, and if it were shown on your plat as that's the front yard, then I think our code would not allow a privacy fence.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
And it is that way. It's shown
Okay.
as the front yard.
Those are front yards along the streets.
Yeah.
Because of the way it's designed and so.
Okay. Thanks. That'd be perfect.
I know better. So those are zoned and shown as front yards.
Front yards, okay.
Facing outward, yes, sir, yeah, on the streets.
I'll tell you what, Mr. Corkle, you've described the walls and everything. If you'll walk us around the site and then talk about where the fences are, where the low walls are, where the gates may be, and
Sure, I'll give you, well, I'll go to this, the entrance,
Okay, very good.
as you come in. And with any luck, I can maneuver this.
You're doing well.
There you go. So here in the front, there's the front column, and we can go to the page here in a second. There's the front column and the front walk, which comes off of our brick sidewalk here. And then there's the sidewalk that leads up to the front porch. There's the column, and then there's the fence line that runs along here and here, and then there's another column on the corner, and that runs into the fence line into the corner of the house.
So back up, I see the square is the
That's the column.
column, and then what's the little circle?
That's the fence line.
And what's the little circle? Right there.
Right there?
Yes, what are those?
It's just a symbol for a fence.
Okay, so that's part of the fence.
The circle's nothing other
Not
than,
like a pier or anything.
nothing other than a line type. So there are no piers, there's only columns at the different gate sections. There's a column here on the corner because it makes sense from the right-of-way to have something that sort of stands out on that corner.
Got it. And that's, so that in between the columns is the decorative fence? of
There'll be a
some sort?
gate in between the columns,
There's the gate, okay.
and then decorative fence,
Okay.
column, fence, 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 column, gate, column, fence, column, and then it turns the corner and runs into the corner of lot 1 there. On the other side, there will be, you'll see there's a series. So here's the engineered wall that Chris was showing.
Yes, okay.
And then there will be a column, and then there'll be a larger bit of a limestone wall with a larger column there as well. I shouldn't say a larger column. It'll be more defined. The columns will all be the same size. And then we've got planting material in front of that column as we run along the front edge of that.
And is that curved area planned to be like the name of the subdivision or something?
It could. It's not planned to be anything yet.
Okay.
But typically, you would see a monument sign there, and if we decide to have a monument sign, that would be the spot for it.
Okay. All right.
And then, again, as we run down Canton Street, there's that column leads to the gate column, and then fencing, so that's your typical kind of rhythm as you come along. And then the fence line hits a column here, turns the corner. We have a buffer that runs along between the office park and the houses, and then that fence turns into a 5-foot tall fence, matches the style of the other decorative fence in front, but it gets larger. So it's 5 feet along this entire buffer.
And I see smaller squares now, so is that?
It's just a line type differentiation.
Okay.
Pay no attention to the little squares there. The columns are here.
Well, you got circles and squares and.
It's very confusing, I know.
Is it a different fence type, though?
Pardon me?
Is there a reason for the different line type? Is it a different type of fencing on the side?
Yeah, exactly. So this is 5 foot, and this would be 3 foot.
That's what.
Just the height?
Yeah, it's just the height.
All right.
Okay.
The style will be the same. And I can go to that now if you all want.
No, just keep walking us around, then we can.
Okay. And then the same happens up here. Your brick sidewalk tees into the concrete up here. So there's your new concrete sidewalk. The rhythm stays the same with the columns and the gate, and then the fencing runs along, same thing as you come in. And everything is directly back of this came up at one point, Eric, is this line right here is your right-of-way line. So everything that we're doing has to be behind that right-of-way line. So those columns are there, and those columns they're 18 by 18, not 3 by 3 by
Yes, thank you.
10 or what have you. And as you get to the corner down here, again, there's your last gate column fencing, then there's a column at the corner. Your fencing runs the corner with another column there. Again, we're speaking to this streetscape situation on the corner of Canton and the alley. And then, Brett, this is where you come along that alley. Fencing runs into columns again, and then you no longer have a single walk that comes up into the individual homes. At this point, it's driveway and street. So we've got a column with a fence and a column. There's no gate. There's no gate along here, and so there's a little column there. Didn't make sense to do it in this spot, and I can zoom out to see so you can see where it's at. We hit a column at the end, and then we would run into that 5-foot fencing along the backside again.
So the 5 foot is only on that?
5 foot's only along this perimeter buffer. Would you like to see what those items are, or would you like, what do you want to see?
Well,
I can-
I'll tell you what, stay right here a second. We're in this amenity area. Just describe what's there, and then we can go look at the pictures.
Most of it is a TBD, but we're making it more like a little sort of a passive park where you've got some benches. They overlook the stream buffer. The stream buffer will be enhanced with different trees and different shrubs as a requirement. One, we're taking out invasives. Two, we're also ending up taking out some trees in that buffer, and the majority of them are sweet gums. And we're adding new trees back in that buffer. So the idea there is it's a sort of a passive area, putting another large oak tree in right here. And then the trail system starts off of that. And Mr. Owens, to speak to your comment about the trail itself, it's not like the stream in there is not like it goes down, it doesn't do this. It's pretty flat. And then it comes across where the bridge, the stream is the stream. That's pretty much where it stays most of the time, that 8 feet wide section. And that's the bridge that you come across, and that trail comes up and it plugs into the backside of this alley and then it runs into the backside over here into the streetscape on that side. And that's about it for the amenity area. There's no play set, there's nothing like that. It's very passive, and you're meant to sit there and kind of hang out and maybe have some coffee or, watch the birds.
Okay. Is it safe to say this amenity area is primarily for the residents of this community?
It's completely safe to say, yes.
Okay, because, the public doesn't really have access to this.
They don't unless they really want to work to get there, and I don't understand how they would unless there's great fishing down there or something. I don't know.
Is it like a big stream, or is it more like a?
It's a trickler.
Like,
It's a trickler, and then
does it flood?
Does it flood?
Just curious.
Speak to the microphone. There's no floodplain here. The water rises in there, but it's not like a massive, like at Big Creek that you see. It's the base flow out there, you can step across it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're at the very top of that stream.
Okay.
So I can go to the images if you like.
Why don't you do that now?
Okay. So, I'm glad there's a mouse here. So here is an image. Let me zoom out just a skosh. There's an image of the size of the fence, the columns, the gate, the style of the black metal fence. You can see the cut limestone. It's very pedestrian oriented. It's very much for a front yard. It hits the criteria of the conditions to be met by DRB. The example of the cut limestone will be very similar to this, and we've done some pre-coordination with the architect. There will be some of this element on some of the homes. The hard part in all this is you've got that really red brick sidewalk, and then how do you marry the columns to that brick sidewalk, or do you? We didn't. We've got a good setback off of that sidewalk, so we didn't try to marry the brick to the brick because the architecture of the homes is entirely different. So we married the columns and all the fencing and that sort of stuff to the fencing to what's existing further down the street, and the columns to marry back into what the individual architecture will have. It may change slightly from that based on the architect's availability and that sort of thing, but it'll be very, very similar to this. Here's an example further down the street on Canton of the individual fencing, and we're staying basically with that. And here you'll see there's very little space of further down the street. We've got a lot more space than that.
In this picture, the little walkway is going into there. Is
Uh-huh.
it brick? Will yours be brick, or will you?
No, there's a I don't know if it's ordinance or a condition that you can't have, I think, more than 10% of the individual walks can't be anything more than concrete.
So yours will be concrete?
They'll be concrete, yeah. I could find it, but it'd take the rest of the morning, we'd have to have lunch. And there's an example of the individual gate. Really good stuff we got here. Street lights is the typical Alpharetta standard. There'll be the decorative crosswalk. I did not talk about that. This was a condition, I believe. What am I drawing? The crosswalk will be here. And Chris, this falls more into your details, whether it's that gray paver or whether it's a brick paver. I showed a gray paver just to differentiate it from the street, but it could be a brick paver too as well, I suppose.
It could be the bricks that match the sidewalk downtown are not traffic rated bricks. You can get thicker ones, but then it's not going to look the same. So I'd put it to you all as, personally, I'd rather see, I have to specify traffic rated brick. I can't in good conscience specify something that's going to get beat up and broken right away. We have used stamped concrete, but a brick paver I think would be tasteful here. And then that begs the question is what do we tie to the limestone? And because we'll have that limestone wall and that curved wall at the entrance here. And I personally like Pat's idea of the gray paver that he showed you for that apron, because that starts to bring you into the development and starts bringing you into a different color palette than, I think we have to match the red outside. That's what the city set that standard years ago, but that's sort of the gateway into the project. So it makes sense for that to be different.
I think it's important that the color contrasts so people know that they're in a drive aisle versus on a sidewalk.
That's another good point, yes. Right. Exactly. So, Pat, where's that picture at that you had? Is it, yeah. I think that would be that'd be a great contrast.
Yeah. I will say, I know there's different feelings about it, but stamped concrete, in my experience, has held up better than pavers, but, you know, the pavers match all the sidewalks, so.
Moving right along, streetlights. There's the bench for the amenity area. It'll be a red. There's the style there. There's the color there. There's a photo example of what that path will be as you move through the woods towards the bridge. Do I have one of the bridge? I thought I had one of the bridge. Oh, I guess not. Didn't you see a bridge somewhere?
No.
I thought I did too. Y'all mentioned one, but I guess I didn't put it in there because it's not a DRB condition. Anyway, it'll be a timber bridge, large timbers that span it, and then it'll be built off of the large timbers. And then examples of the streetscape, and I can go into the landscaping of the streetscape now if you like.
Yeah, why don't you do that? Quick question, if I'm the Postmaster General, how am I delivering mail?
They're not.
Is there a central?
I'd like to know how they deliver mail myself.
If you get mail regularly, let us know what you're doing, because not only is it taking forever, but we actually had mail stolen and checks cashed improperly, and we traced it back to the post office.
Wow.
Yeah. So there will be a kiosk, and we talked about it being on the back corner of Lot 9 here, but I'm more in favor of it being at the end of the alley, but it's to be determined. But the postmaster doesn't allow individual boxes anymore. So if they did, I would want to do something up at the street personally, but to tie it to more classical home delivery and architecture, but there will be a central box.
Okay, good, thank you.
Maybe
All right.
have their stuff fixed by the time this is built.
Okay. There we go. I'll start at this corner up here. Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where to start, but so the streetscape that's out there now has changed. Will be changing considerably. We've got a much wider planting strip, and the kicker and the hard part in all this is we've got power. We've got overhead power that runs through, you can see it there, that's the P, that runs through the entire length of our streetscape. So we're limited as far as the condition goes to put shade trees out there. So what we've done, we have to put something underneath the trees that's readily accepted in the city, and we've done that here, where we've got fringe trees, and believe it or not, David Shostak's allowing crepe myrtle trees. And we've got fringe trees again out there, and we've got an it's a ground cover underneath it, I believe is a juga. And all the plant materials, for the most part, are over here on that next page. I don't want to keep bouncing back and forth, but I'll walk through it. But the juga is the winter creeper, and here's the individual trees that are out there, the fringe tree and that sort of thing. But I'll bounce back to this. And stop me if you have specifics somewhere you want to take on. We've kind of buffered this corner in here where we've gone with some saucer magnolias. Look great. One of the first things that bloom in the spring. Azaleas. We've got a strong evergreen presence behind that of cryptomeria, or excuse me, green giant arborvitaes. And then the individual lots is a mixture of dogwoods and redbuds and other things with a hedge material of boxwoods here in front of that fence. Didn't want to hide our columns, so the columns remain for the most part open. Steed's holly off to the side, and I don't remember what the ground cover is. There's some liriope that is in patches, but it varies as we go.
Sorry, could you go back to the corner?
Sure.
Is that the east side, maybe? Do we have utilities kind of running
Oh, we got all
through
sorts of
those
stuff over
tree
there.
areas? Yeah, it looks like there's a lot going on there.
There's a lot going on there. We've got water lines that run through that alley. We've got storm that they're plugging into up here. We've got overhead power that runs here. About the only spot we don't have a lot of stuff on the corner, there's a traffic box over there too as well somewhere. But about the only place we don't have it is this section in here.
Okay.
And so we're doing our best to try and get a flattened area, a shelved area, so we can get all this stuff in there to really kind of pronounce this corner. If you're out there now, it's no great shakes. There's some pine trees there and lots of like blackberry and little stuff like that. So we're trying to pronounce that corner and really liven that up. There's a pretty busy street that goes through there. I can go to this street.
Pat, hold right there just a second. I'm going to read one of the council conditions. I'll just read it out loud to make sure we're following that. Mayfield Road streetscape shall be improved as follows. Minimum 6-foot planter planted with street trees.
Yep, right there.
Okay. Oops, I should say Canton Street.
Yeah,
Let me go
that's
back to
Canton.
Canton Street. Canton Street streetscape shall be improved as follows. Minimum 6-foot planter planted with street trees, okay? 8-foot brick sidewalk.
Yep.
And decorative pedestrian lights.
Yep.
Of course, it was final approval by staff. All right, so.
There's a little microcosm of it all right there. This is your brick sidewalk. There's your 6-foot planting strip. There's your street trees. There's your light pole. This is the old entrance, by the way. That went away.
What is the ground cover proposed in that strip?
In here?
Yeah,
It should be the ajuga, the winter creeper.
okay. And that continues all around the
Yeah.
full site?
That goes all the way down.
Okay.
We've had really good success with it. Another project up here called 1858. Same situation where you've got a lot of stuff stuffed into that planter area, and it's really taken off well. And then when these trees get so much bigger and start shading things out, it takes shade very well.
And you can put bulbs in that ground cover as well, because you don't have to be coming back to cut it down.
Put bulbs?
Yeah.
Good.
Pat, for lot 1, is there a reason why you guys didn't push the house back a little bit? It seems like it's right up on
Lot 1,
the
right.
gate area.
No, I can't answer anything as far as the site plan goes for houses, but I'm sure there's a fantastic reason.
It almost looks like you can't even walk between the.
Mr. Owen, that's a great question. These footprints are somewhat generic in nature, and so as Mr. Davis develops those individually, he'll come in with specific lot permits for the building department to approve. The way it's shown here, yes, we could move that back probably 3 feet or so, 2 or 3 feet, which in this scale matters. That makes a big difference for that front yard, so it could be pulled back.
Yeah, because it looks like you couldn't even pass between the column and the porch, and it would also, with the driveways, it would expand the side yard a little bit.
This one actually, as it's currently shown, it's a side entry.
Yep.
So they would come around and go into their garage right here, rather than straight from the back. But yeah, this gap right here, we could slide it back a little bit.
And again, the architecture is placeholder at this point, but good point. And, you know, these columns and walks could very well shift based when the architecture comes online, and then where those front doors start ending up based on the eventual architecture. Anything more you guys would like to see? I can keep going all day.
Talk to us about where the future roundabout's going to go. What I guess you're putting some permanent landscaping in there.
Yeah, and that's just based on who knows what will happen, and like Chris had mentioned, the funding of it, and there's nothing online for it to come up in any part of the near future. One of the things we really want to do, again, was not just leave it blank and with turf and then a sidewalk. So yeah, we did add some trees, we added a hedge, and then we really kind of hedged it up here as well. One, to bunker your residents in behind all of that, but also make it more decorative from the street. If you notice, we really tried on our corners to dress up this corner as best we could without going all the way out to the sidewalk. Really tried to dress up this corner as well. So yeah, at the end, those trees could very well fall, but who knows? And one of my favorite trees is out there. It's a Chinese pistache. I love those trees in the fall especially. But yeah, they could very well go away, but I don't see it happening. And honestly, I don't think that roundabout's going to happen, but one never knows. Never say never.
Yep.
Does that right-of-way go away at construction, or does it remain until the roundabout is constructed? So is that,
What was that question again?
does the right-of-way, like there's a future right-of-way line that we looked at before, behind the sidewalk, I think?
Yes,
And then
it's behind the diagonal sidewalk. Now, so the Public Works had a concept plan for the roundabout, and that was overlaid with our site plan, and that's where we came up with this layout. Now, hopefully, they stay with that concept. With a roundabout, it'd be rare for them to shift it very much one way or another off-center from the intersection, but yeah, that diagonal sidewalk hopefully would be able to stay in place after the city built the roundabout. That's the intent.
Well, the city owns, on the other side of Mayfield, the city owns that parcel, right, that corner piece right there, too. Of course, they own the arts, where the Arts Center is, too.
They own the diagonal corner, but I do believe you're right. I believe that strip along Mayfield immediately across from lots 3 and 4, I believe the city owns a bit of a strip
Yes,
there as
they
well.
do.
Yeah.
So, makes sense that the roundabout will go more on that, towards that side, towards the eastern side. Okay. All right, any other landscaping questions for the applicant this morning? So we're approving this.
I've got a couple of picky things to bring up.
All right.
As is often the case, these are somewhat subjective, but I noticed that 2 things in your amenity area. You've got a little woodland park there that you're creating for people to sit and look into the stream area. It seems odd that you would have chosen a red bench to put in that little quiet space. What led you to choose that color?
A little splash. A little splash of color in an all-green environment.
Yeah.
Something to give it a little bit of life.
I love the red bench.
Maybe the mosquitoes don't like red or something.
The other thing I noticed there is you've got a row of lower pedalum on the edge of that amenity area between where the people sit and looking into that stream bed. That would seem to create a little wall that would make a separation, a feeling of separation between sitting there and enjoying the creek without just being able to look right into the stream area.
So if you go there, the stream and the surrounding area itself is not any great shakes. And it's cool, but I did want that level of separation. I want that level of separation, especially in the springtime and a little bit later into the summer when the stuff blooms a little bit. There's nothing in there that especially is exciting. And as far as the stream goes, you know, it is a trickler. And so all that is just an introduction of a little bit of color in the spring and a little bit of vibrance in there. To leave it alone is okay, but I wanted to give that park an edge.
Yeah. Also give it a
defining edge,
sort of a cozier feel in that little park.
Right. I just wanted a little more of a defining edge than just sort of falls into that area. And I've been through that stream bed a couple too many times.
It's not like you're overlooking the Chattahoochee, right?
Yeah.
Right.
There's really no view.
Maybe we could get Mr. Eberly involved and let him redo it.
There
Sure,
you go.
sure he comes cheap. But that was the idea of defining that edge and giving it a true differentiation of space.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
I just have two quick comments. In a previous project, we used the fringe tree as a street tree, and they kind of do struggle. So they've had to replace a number of them, and so those with the heat, and they just haven't done well. So you might reconsider the fringe trees on Mayfield. And then
I've got to comment to that just a second. Go ahead, though.
Okay. And then the other was the needlepoint holly adjacent to the pedestrian walkway, because I think I noticed it on the Canton side street where the sidewalk comes.
There's a few, I think there.
Well, there's a distance on Mayfield, but on Canton, I think, where the sidewalk is right on the planting area.
There are ones, okay. There are some in both streets, Jennifer. There's some right there, but you're talking Canton specifically.
I think
right
specifically
there.
Canton, yeah, because they're directly adjacent to the pedestrian walkways, and those would be really prickly, and they'd have to be, maintained pretty well. I don't know if there's an opportunity to do something a little softer there.
Prickly was for a reason.
Okay.
Because it is so close to the walkway. It is a low sort of barrier, if you will. So
Well, we have
I
a
actually kind of
fence.
wanted prickly there, but
Okay.
we can change it if you like.
Okay.
Just in case, because you are so close to that street along there.
Okay.
But on the fringe trees, they were used just up Webb Bridge Road. There's that hotel that sits up on the hill,
That's the
and there's the
project
fringe
I'm
trees there.
talking about.
I drove by there this morning, and the trees looked pretty good. They were blooming, except for the ones that looked like they just got hit last night by a car. There's like 2 or 3 that have been knocked on the ground. That's why I love doing little trees next to streets.
Well,
But
yeah,
we can look at any suggestions. What I thought those trees looked pretty good, but
they've just been a constant struggle. They've had to
Have they?
replace them. They've had constant arborist care, like through the post-CO. Like, it's just been a challenge.
Okay.
So,
we can look to change them out with something else. I'm surprised David let me go ahead with crepe myrtles. I'm like, dude, you got to give me something
no.
out there.
Yeah. I think with the power lines, you're kind of challenged there. Maybe a Merlot redbud
Okay.
with the purple flowers, kind of interesting.
Right. I'm kidding. Yeah, I know.
But
What's the theme of the area out there along the streetscape? Can you?
The theme is to hit ordinance and to hit council conditions first. And then site conditions second, and then thirdly, to really make a really nice design once you get through those council conditions and everything else. But I think we've given the front yards some they're really bunkered by trees, which to hit your density in all of this, it's at some point in time, it's going to be tough. But I think we've got a decent area of sunlight, which the trees won't take over. But I think we've given a decent variety out there, which adds interest to a resident.
So I did have one comment that I saw out there that at the corner where may or may not ever happen with the roundabout. All of the trees, which are going to be great, but they're outside that sidewalk. Would there be some benefit if that does go away to have some visual interest back on the other side of the sidewalk, even if there's just a center interest, or is that
It would be great, and we could try and do that.
Even if whatever E is, would move kind of as a centerpiece.
Well, E has to stay in the lot because you have to have a 30.
For the density,
You have to have density per lot. And we can look at redoing those fronts. Again, it's without getting inside the lot lines and designing inside that fence. That design will come later. But yeah, we can look at adding more there.
Yeah, even if there was one right at that kind
Talking
of.
about right here?
Intersection, yeah. Because if that outside goes away, then that's going to be it's going to look sort of blank right there.
Right. And that's what I'm hoping if wherever this is built,
Yeah.
that whatever is there will come back. They'll redesign something back in there.
Okay.
Again, not reading the tea leaves and going into the future, yes. But if y'all would like something back in here, inside the lots, it will come with the lot development.
I'm also
we could put
seeing
it here by
there's
just
two sides. You're from the intersection. You're looking at those two particular ones with their angles like that. You're looking at sides as well. So
I'm not understanding.
Sides of the house. So if you're sitting out at the
here.
intersection, yeah.
Well, that's why we've got a level of hedge there and a double row hedge here to really kind of try and bunker that in on that corner.
Yeah.
And then try and get some height with those trees. It's about the only spot along there after you come off of Mayfield where we finally get away from the power lines, we can finally get some height to stuff.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why it chose that. Again, it could go away in the future, but I'm rolling the dice that it's not going to go away in any.
I hope it stays because I think it's a great. I like the design of that look right there, but you just never know.
No, you don't.
Okay. I have a question about the overall scheme or is there going to be phasing of this project? Is this all going to be done at once? You're going to clear the site at once and what's that? Just curious. I mean, I know there's certain requirements, but.
Yeah, the infrastructure, from the LDP will all happen at once. Both sides of the creek, we want to get all the infrastructure in one run. And in terms of the vertical construction, because of the space allocation is tight, we're going to have micro phasing. So essentially start a house every 6 weeks or so. And that way we can be very efficient with the staging of material and the crews. A framer can go finish one house and the next house is ready, that kind of thing. Obviously sales and things can play into that a little bit, but given the limited space for staging, we can't do 4 or 5 houses at a time. We just can't put the material everywhere. So what we'll do during construction is we'll put a temporary construction layer down to kind of help with traction. We're not going to be able to be driving over pavers, during construction with heavy equipment, but pure gravel is very difficult in ruts and causes a big mess. So we'll do like a temp asphalt or some sort of layer there during construction. And then as we kind of phase our way down, we'll start at the front and work backwards so that as units are completed and sold, the homeowners are not driving through a construction site. They're going right to their homes and able to come and go. And that way we kind of paint ourselves out from the back.
So when you say the front, so where do you start?
So like the
historic first, for
lot 1
Okay.
in the historical house, those will be kind of the first 2 finished. We will use the historical house as kind of a sales center and construction office during construction, but it'll offer the kind of the opportunity to have a nice display right at the entrance into the development. And lot 1 will be kind of flanking the other side of the entrance, and so those will be nice to public display of what the development's going to be. And then we'll just kind of work our way back from there. And so 10-month build per house. And again, starting a new house every 4 to 6 weeks, give or take weather and some other variables. So,
Okay, all right, very good.
yeah.
Thank you.
Just a quick question for Mr. Schroeder. There was an earlier discussion about privacy fences and HOA conditions. Did we get satisfied that's not necessary? Because
Yes.
it's front yards and it, yeah, okay.
Yeah, the current fence code talks about front yards and,
Good.
but in specific, it talks about you can't do a front yard privacy fence.
So
Yeah,
so we don't need that, okay.
Okay, very good. All right. Any other questions for the applicant? Before we make any motions, I'm going to ask, is there any public comment about this application? Any public comment? No? All right, no public comment. All right,
All right.
somebody want to craft some motions?
Mr. Chairman, regarding DRB 240021 Canton Mayfield Development, a motion to approve the site plan as submitted. And the motion.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Swing, a second by Ms. Palmer. About that. Yeah, you could probably offer that. I would like to say, I've been trying to keep track of all the council conditions, and it seems like the applicant is meeting all those that have been highlighted or talked about earlier, so just for FYI. Yes, Mr.
Yeah,
Rowan has a.
I'd like to offer a friendly amendment to the motion, and that would be for the applicant to set back Lot 1 to meet any building setback requirements and try to provide more distance from the fence to the front porch of that building.
And let's see, I'll tell you why. It looks like that porch is actually over the building setback line, and that's our concern. Or
I
that's
don't
a
think
concern.
porches are considered within, I think they can be within the building setback.
They can encroach.
Can they?
I think a
I've
porch
had to get a
can.
variance for mine.
I'm sorry, what'd you say, Ms. Palmer?
I had to get a variance for my porch because of
So
the setback.
in the downtown overlay code, porches are not subject to the setback. They can encroach. And I'm working with staff right now in the LDP review, for instance. The code for setbacks in DTR is 10-foot minimum from the front, 0 side setback. However, there's a 10-foot separation between structures. We all think about if you hear 10-foot separation, it's 5 feet and 5 feet. That's not the case here. Lot 1 could be 0 setback, and then Lot 2 would have to be 10 feet away from the home. And the rear setbacks are applied based on an alley or not. However, there's an underlying condition, but we're okay there because the alley is counted as part of this lot or these lots. So working through that with Brian Borden, not about trying to renegotiate anything, but how to display that graphically on a plat in a way that somebody understands. However, I'll ask my client to confirm, but I don't have a problem, back to the friendly amendment Mr. Rowan made, I don't have an issue with that if it could be made subject to staff approval, because it is somewhat of a subjective condition, which we're perfectly fine with as long as there's a way to work within the zoning setbacks, of course, the conditions, and then have maybe Mr. Schroeder be kind of the arbiter of some common sense there, because like Pat said earlier, what's our design theme? Our design theme is to meet council conditions, to meet site conditions, site zoning or plan conditions, and then have a nice development.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's intent would be to have that column so close that you couldn't, to the structure that you can't get between there. It doesn't look good.
Yeah.
So I'm going to guess that'll work out.
Do you want me to recraft that? Or,
Or maybe you just retract
the friendly amendment, then?
We're comfortable that the intent's been expressed, and if it makes it into the minutes and Mr. Schroeder is able to make sure that the right thing is done there, if you are, but I'll put that there for you all to discuss.
The other concern is just as you're literally like 5 or 6 feet off of the sidewalk, so anything you can do to push it back, to open that up more, I think would improve the environment for the pedestrian as well as for the homeowner who's going to have more room between their gate and fence and their home. So,
Yeah. And I think that I've seen Mr. Jackson shaking his head yes back there, agreeing. So I think it's up to you. If you want to remove it, you can remove it and just, I'll make sure that the LDP team and I know that.
Do I need to restate it?
Well, we're still discussing that. Now, the other thing is, I just noticed that Lot 10 also has the issue of the porch being over the setback line.
But it's permissible, though.
Yeah,
It's permissible by zoning. That doesn't mean, again, it couldn't be improved upon. And then as a matter of order, if your question, Mr. Rowan, is Mr. Swing, you made the motion?
The original motion.
So if he made the original motion, he could reject your friendly amendment, then you'd be back to the original motion.
Right.
Yeah, that's fine.
That just sounds very unfriendly. You might want to
That
withdraw.
is, yeah, that's, you're right.
I'd rather have you reject it. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I think the intent is understood, and I think that the developer and the engineer understand that. So I'd like to withdraw my friendly amendment.
Okay, I think did you accept the friendly?
No,
You
we
didn't.
never got to that
Never
point.
got, okay, all right, so he's withdrawing the friendly amendment, so that's off the table. So we're back just to the motion. All right, any other comments or questions about the site plan? Okay, there being.
Do we
no-
have so the site plan was originally, we have a second from you,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, Mrs. Palmer seconded the motion, so that's how we had discussion. Okay, there be no further discussion about the motion. I'll hereby call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All opposed? No opposition. Motion passes 6-0. All right, 1 down and 1 to go. All right, somebody want to propose a landscape motion, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I propose that we approve the landscape planting as it has been presented with the other pieces of the landscape plan.
Plan, okay.
End of motion.
All right, second. We have a motion by Mr. Owens, a second by Mr. Rowan. Comments, discussions about the motion? Anything? All good? Okay, again, I think all the council conditions regarding landscaping have been met by the applicant, as we discussed today. Okay, there being no further comments or questions about the motion, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All opposed? No opposition. Motion passes 6-0. Very good. Okay, thank you for your time this afternoon or this morning. So when do we get to see the houses?
Thank you.
Oh, good. All right, very good. Okay, fantastic. Thanks. Well, good luck. Appreciate that. Okay, there being no further business and with no objections from fellow board members, this meeting is hereby adjourned.